Hey everyone, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me on my new channel focused specifically on relationship topics and love advice. So, I'm going to continue discussing the interview that Avonte Wright did with Tasha K, discussing her 9-year spiritual marriage to Sean Stockman of Boys to Men. As I stated yesterday, I heard about this story years ago and I knew she was devastated, but the interview that she did with Tasha K really gave me some, deeper insight into why she did what she did, even though I'm not surprised. And I wanted to explain why women like Avonte and Martell's Mistress prefer to be the side piece instead of the wife. So Avonte basically kept saying in the interview that she did not want to be the wife. She did not want to be at home with the kids while her man was on the road with a woman like her. And, Ariane basically said the same thing. She was like, she didn't want to be with Martell because look at how he treated his wife. She said this in one of her recorded phone conversations, like, I would never want to be with him because look at how he treats his wife. And this was before she got pregnant. So that wasn't true. This is the thing. A lot of side pieces try to reconcile their cognitive dissonance by saying, I'm the fun girlfriend. I am the one that he wants to be with by choice. I'm the one that he has fun with on the road. He's happy to see me. He can tell me anything. I'm his homie. I'm his friend. I'm his lover. I'm everything that his wife is not. And so they do that to feel better about not being the wife, the preference, right? So they say, well, I don't want to be her anyway because look at how he's treating her. And Avonte was in the industry, so she was very familiar with how these men operate when they're not at home with their wives. And she did not want to be the type of woman that was at home taking care of babies while her man is on the road sleeping with multiple women, right, behind her back. She didn't want to be that person. But at the same time, she didn't want to be that person. She became that person because she wanted the same benefits of being a wife without the paperwork. She told Sean, as long as you do this, this, and that, and the third, as long as you treat me like a wife, right? You tell me everything that's going on. You don't keep secrets from me. You're available for me when I need you. As long as you treat me like a wife, I'm okay with just being the spiritual wife while you have your paper wife at home. Because like Marceau treats Tisha, a lot of men treat their paper wives as if they are a burden, a responsibility, something that they're bound to be with, or they have an obligation to be with, which makes them not fun anymore. It makes them not sexy, right? So a lot of men like Marceau treat their wives like they're disposable, or they treat them with some level of disrespect, disregard, contempt. They're not as eager to be with the woman anymore. You can't have it both ways, okay? A lot of wives, and I'm speaking to wives here, you cannot have it both ways. You can't be in the 7th house and expect your man to treat you like you're in the 5th house. And I'm talking about astrology here. In astrology, the 7th house is the house of business partnerships, relationships, open enemies, marriage contracts, marriage, period, right? Open enemies. Remember that, okay? The 12th house is the house of hidden enemies. But the house of open enemies is the 7th house. The 5th house deals with creativity, romance, fun, sex, passion, and making children. That has nothing to do with the 7th house. Even though you need to get to the 7th house from the 5th house, right? When they first meet you, it's all fun and romance and sex and everything else. Once you're in the 7th house, that's done with for the most part in most marriages. And the longer the marriage goes on, the less romance, the less spark, the less sexiness that there is, which is why most women are the ones who file for divorce, because they want to be treated like the 5th house girlfriend, but they're in the 7th house of marriages. So men don't see them the same way. Their husbands don't see them the same way they see their girlfriends, which is why women like Avonte and Martell's Mistress, they want to be that fun, exciting girlfriend that the man chooses to be with, because To them, that's a better position. Like, you don't want your man to be like, oh my God, my wife is calling me. Oh my God, I gotta go home. Damn, I'm gonna miss you. You make my life better. Without you, I wouldn't be happy. Women like to be the reason why a man is happy, period. And so Avonte was competing with the wife subconsciously. She was saying, even though she got the ring, I got his heart. And I've heard this nonsense before. Even though she has the ring, I have his heart. So, he's with her because he gotta be for the paperwork, but I'm with him on the road. He's with me when he's having fun. I am someone who brings happiness and joy into his life, which makes me more important than his wife. What these mistresses don't understand is that young mistresses become old mistresses, okay? New mistresses and side pieces become old mistresses and side pieces. And what makes matters worse is you have no leverage. So he's going to get tired of you the same way he's getting tired of his wife, because he's seeing you all the time now. You're acting like you're his wife. You're expecting to be treated like the wife. So you become boring too, and you have no leverage. I remember Oprah had a talk show episode where she was talking to the side pieces. And she said that she was once dating a married man and she knew about it. But if she was okay with it, until she found out he had another girlfriend. And she realized at that point she had no leverage in the situation. What are you going to say to a man that's cheating with you? You're going to tell him to stop cheating with other women? So you have no leverage. So she realized at that point she would never do that again, because when he finds somebody who's your replacement or who is just like you to be the side piece, then you're sharing him with someone else and you have no say so. And you better not complain about anything, because one, you knew what it was when you got with him. And two, once you start complaining, you sound like who? The nagging wife that he was using you to get away from in the first place. So you have no leverage here. And Ariane started to complain and fight with Martell about him being married still, but you knew what it was when you got with him. So he didn't give a fuck about appeasing you and your concerns. So women like that tend to get pregnant to prove to themselves that they're more than just a side piece, because now with the baby, you have some leverage over the situation. A lot of mistresses get pregnant because they want some leverage and control over the man that they have been giving themselves to unconditionally for years, right? These men didn't have to commit to them. These men didn't have to marry them, but they were giving their body, mind, heart, and soul to these men for years, thinking that, well, he's with me by choice and I make him feel better about his life. So I'm more valuable than his wife. Over time, these women start to see that you're getting played because they can have multiple spiritual wives. They can have multiple yous in different cities and you have no leverage. So now if he doesn't answer your phone call, he can say, well, I was on the phone with my wife. My real wife, while he's talking to other females, right? And then you get pushed lower and lower on the totem pole because you're getting older. Now he's used to you. There's contempt there, and there's no paperwork to bind you. So you have no leverage over him anyway. No child support for him to worry about, in Avonte's case, right? If you leave him, his paper's fine. His life is back to normal. He has other women he can replace you with, and you're left with nothing. That's why a lot of these mistresses over time become more bitter and start to hate the wife and compete with the wife, because the wife has leverage. And these women want leverage too. But initially their leverage was being the fun girl, the young girl, the hot, sexy girl, the one that, he comes to for fun, right? Not the boring, miserable wife that's about business and money and taking care of kids and paying bills. No, that's boring. I want to be the fun girlfriend, right? I want to be the one that he's happy to talk to on the phone, that he's excited about, that he's passionate about, right? And we even saw Marceau stated that Martell was a totally different person when he was around Ariane than when he was around Melody. He was a lot more fun, exciting, right? He was a manly, more aggressive, more manly. He felt more confident in himself because he was with somebody who did not challenge him. He was with somebody that looked up to him, right? Like girlfriends do. He was with somebody who worshiped him and saw that he could do no wrong. There was great sex and all this stuff. Passion, sex, fun. But you're married to a woman who is paying bills, working 2 businesses, taking care of 4 kids. It's not fun. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions on any wives out here. Like, it's hard to be a wife. But at the same time, you can't be in the 5th and the 7th house at the same time. Like, it's difficult to juggle both, especially after the kids come. Maybe you can do that when there's no kids. But once the kids come, right, and you got bills to pay, and there's other obligations and responsibilities that take you away from your husband, that you become the boring wife. And that's not always the case. There are some men who will love their wives and who adore them and who have fun with them, all this stuff. But that usually happens before the kids come. Once the kids come, these men start wandering. Not all the time, but a lot of times. These men start wandering when the kids come, because now it's no longer about them having fun and sex. Now you go from the 5th house to the 7th house. There's obligations. There's open enemies. You love your partner, but you hate them at the same time because you hate being tethered to them and having them control your life. The reason why Marcel treats Tisha the way he does is because he resents being in that position where she can ruin his life, basically. She can take his money, right? She can take his kids from him. They resent that. Men do not like being in a position where the woman has control over them. So what they do is, again, like I mentioned in my last video, they subconsciously punish the wife for being the wife. They'll cheat on her behind her back. They will treat her coldly. They won't be affectionate. They won't help out around the house. It's like almost like you wanted to be the wife, so be the wife. Take care of the fucking house like you wanted to. But then the wives are confused, like, I still want the 5th house stuff. There's no romance anymore. The biggest issue that a lot of women have in their marriages is a lack of romance. So they divorce their husbands, yes, for money too, but there's no spark anymore, right? Their husband doesn't treat them like they desire them. And women like to be desired. You know why? Because we are Venusian. We are the physical embodiment of Venus. What does Venus represent? Desires, love, romance, diplomacy, conversation, communication, the things that we value. And when men get married, they don't treat the women like Venus anymore. They treat them like maybe Jupiter, right? You're my partner, my homie. They may treat them like Mercury, like siblings. They go to that place too. You become sort of roommates in a way, and you're like hanging out with each other, but there's no passion, no spark, right? So these men, they lose that passion and spark for their wives, and they have it for their mistresses. And these mistresses, like Ariane and Avonte, think that they're in a better, more superior position. So Avonte lied to herself saying, I don't want to be the wife because I don't want to be treated like this. No, she didn't want to be the wife because she was insecure about herself and her value and her ability to hold on to a man that was in the industry. And to be fair, I wouldn't want to be Sean Stockman's wife either. I would never marry somebody in the industry. That's just ridiculous to me. To marry somebody who is constantly being exposed to women who are throwing themselves at them. That's just unreasonable. That's unreasonable to expect some fidelity because of that. That's weird. If your man is attractive and he's rich and he has some power and popularity and fame, other women are going to gravitate toward him in droves, by the thousands and the millions in some cases. We saw Michael Jackson. Millions of beautiful women throwing themselves at you. You're on the road for 6 months out of the year. What do you think is going to happen as a wife? Like, I don't understand. If you're going to get married to somebody in the industry, do not expect them to be faithful. And don't get mad about it either, because you knew what it was when you first married them. I don't understand why these women think that, oh, he's cheating on me, so that means that he doesn't love me. No, he loves you, and he chose to marry you for a reason. He wanted you to have the benefit of his last name and his finances. And, you are representative of his status in society. You are part of that. But at the same time, he wants to have fun with the other women. You can't do both. I'm sorry. It is hard for you to be the 7th house person and the 5th house person at the same time. The 5th house person is the girlfriend. It's the date. It is the romance partner. It's the fun sex, right? That leads to having children, which is also the 5th house. But the 7th house is the paperwork. That's it. At first it's romantic, right? Oh, we're married. But over time, 10, 15, 20 years, the paperwork, this paperwork lasts longer than the romance. The paperwork is fixed. it ain't going nowhere unless you get divorced. The romance kind of dissipates. And that's for everybody, right? So even if you're the girlfriend for 10 years, that is going to dissipate too. The lust and the passion your man had for you when he first met you is going to wane over time. And that's what these spiritual wives and mistresses don't understand, that you're going to be in the worst position because you have no leverage. You're going to give your body to a man who can dispose of you easily after getting the best of you for years. And you can't complain about it because you knew what it was. You knew what it was, and he can tell you that. Even though he lied to you in the beginning and made it seem like it was something that it was not, he's going to flip that against you. He's going to turn your own naivete, ignorance, and self-deception and competitiveness against you by saying you knew what it was. What are you complaining for, right? You say you didn't want to be the wife. Now you are trying to get me to treat you like my wife. I already have a wife. And you said you didn't want to be her. So why are you mad now at me treating you like your position? That's why Ariane got pregnant also. She got mad at Martell treating her like her position. He kept telling her to play your role. Your role is the side piece. But she told herself, no, I don't want to be the wife because the wife gets to be cheated on. But at the same time, the wife doesn't have to have abortions either. The wife gets the money, the name. The wife gets acknowledgement in public, right? So now over time, these women who wanted to be the side pieces and mistresses who thought they were cool doing that, they were the cool, fun girlfriend, they realized that they're becoming the old wife without the paperwork. Then they start to get bitter and compete with the wife and try to fuck up the man's marriage. Because it's like, well, I gave so much to this man for years and I have nothing to show for it. I have nothing to show for my loyalty to somebody as a spiritual wife. His wife gets all the money. His wife gets to call him out on cheating. He will hide the cheating from his wife, but he won't hide it from your ass. He'll hide his groupies from his wife, but you are going to find out about them. No problem. And he's like, well, what are you complaining about? You had no leverage here. Really? You're not my wife. Even though I told you you were, so you can sleep with me, right, for years. Even though I lied to you and convinced you that it was the same thing, or even better, because you got all the fun side of me. At some point, these women start to feel like shit because they start to see that time waits for no one. So even though you were fun in the beginning, 5 or 6 years down the road, you're like the old girlfriend now. And you have no leverage and no kids and no money and no last name. And he's still married to his wife. Now the babies come. Now the sabotage comes. Now the arguing and bickering come. And once you start arguing and bickering, you're no longer the fun girlfriend anymore. It's a vicious cycle. So you lose either way. That's the game. Okay? So yeah, this is sort of like a cautionary tale for mistresses. It's cute in the beginning. You're the one with the perky boobs and the fun smile and you're young and all this other stuff. That's great. But over time, you're going to get old too. Not just physically. Your energy is going to become old to this man. He's going to become familiar with you. It's not going to be as exciting anymore. I'm sorry. Especially if you're dealing with a narcissist like Sean or Martell, who always has other options, always has multiple women around him because they're tired of you now. They want something different. Okay? You can only have one wife, but you can have multiple mistresses. Avonte wanted to be the only mistress, like he had only one wife. Even though she said she wanted him to have spiritual marriages too with other women, but he started to be more worldly. That was a game. These niggas are not spiritual at all. Most men are not going to give up sex. They'll use religion to control you sexually, to say you can't have other men and I can have 15 different women. But they're not going to be abstain from whores because of religion. When did that ever happen? That will never happen. It's not happening with these men, especially in the industry. They'll use that to fake you out, but it is what it is. So Ariane was loyal to Martell as if that was her fucking husband. For 7 years, you wasn't with no other man. But then you want to tell everybody you don't want to be his wife, but you're treating him like he's your husband. Do you see how bullshit that sounds? You're treating these men like Martell and Sean like they're your husband, but then you say you don't want to be the wife on paper. You're not going to be young forever. I'm sorry, you're not. You're not going to be perky forever. You're not going to be the new girlfriend forever. And that's the only leverage they have. The only leverage the side piece has over the new wife is the fact that they're a novelty. They're different. They're, a part of the variety of women that men enjoy. So that's their leverage. And these women bank on that leverage too much. They think that they'll always be the young, hot girl. No. What other qualities do you have besides being something new and attractive? Because after 5-6 years, you're not new anymore. No more novelty. That's where a lot of the excitement comes from. And then you start to nag like you're his girlfriend or wife. Ariane said she was arguing with Martell as if that was her man. But she said she didn't want to be his wife. What you arguing with him for? What are you mad at him for anything? Get the penis and keep it pushing. Like you said you wanted to do, right? Because that's all it boils down to. Penis, money, and keep it pushing. You get a bag, a couple of bills paid, and you get sit on your way. You should be happy with that. That's what you agreed to, right? What's all this emotional entanglement for now? What happened? I thought you were cool just being with the girlfriend, the cool fun chick. If you start arguing with these men and nagging them and complaining about them doing what they want to do with their lives because they're not married to you, it's none of your business anyway. You're just like the wife now. Now the energy's shifted. Now they don't want to see you anyway because now you're miserable and complaining about what the fuck they're doing when they're not with you. And it's not your business anyway. So they're like, who are you? Like, what? Who are you talking to? You knew what it was. They always say that. You knew what it was. You know what it is. You agreed to it in the beginning. So why are you complaining about it now? And that's why, again, women like Avonte and Ariane play themselves because they delude themselves into thinking that they're better than the wife initially. And, their novelty is exciting, but over time, they become just like the wife, but they have no leverage. They have no money, no receipts. They don't have the ability to hurt this man the way that his wife could. And that's a certain position of power that wives enjoy that mistresses don't, which is why the mistresses start to envy the wife later on. At first, they were making fun of the wife. Now they're jealous of the wife because if the wife leaves, the man's whole world is shattered. If she leaves, he can find somebody to replace her tomorrow. He already has her replacement on deck. You don't have a second wife on deck, I don't think. Most men don't do that. They might, some do, but it's a lot more common and easier for them to find a new mistress than it is to find a new wife. Period. That's why Martell's been divorced for 2 years now, and he still hasn't married Ariane. Okay? Alright guys, I'm going to continue this topic in another video, but it's already been 20-something minutes. Yeah, if you're the side piece, that's temporary. That's not a full-time, long-term position. That's a temp job. Treat it as such. Get in, get out. If you're going to do it, get in and get out. Get out. Don't fall in love with this man and don't expect him to leave his wife for you. It's not going to happen. Get your paper and keep it pushing. Don't try to disrupt his life if you're going to be with this man. Because ultimately, you're going to lose out. He wants you for his side piece for a reason. And I mentioned this in my other video. I'm going to put the link in my description box. These men know who they want for a wife and they know who they want for a girlfriend. The side piece makes it easier for them to stay married to their wives. That's how it goes. Okay? Alright guys, thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this channel and my primary channel, The Wounded Womb, Mind of Lilith. And I will speak to you soon. I look forward to reading your comments. Thank you. Bye-bye.